Hello everyone, my name is Shelby and me and my partner Haley will be addressing the current problem with detecting red pandas. We will go over some of the techniques that can be used and the pros and cons associated with each. And lastly, we will provide our recommended technique given our criteria. The problem that we encounter with red pandas is that they are extremely hard to detect due to their elusive nature and the harsh terrain that they live in. And because of this, there are very few effective methods for detecting them. The criteria that we will be using to decide which technique would be the best choice is it needs to be non-invasive to the animal, it needs to reduce stress as much as possible, it needs to be time efficient, and it should be relatively inexpensive.
The first technique is using SCAT for detection. SCAT is a good way of identifying whether or not a species is present. This method requires technicians to get familiar with identifying a specific species SCAT, then going out to the field to search for these signs. If SCAT is identified within an area, it will tell us if any individuals have been there and helps familiarize locations of the species. This technique is great because there is no additional stress being put on the red panda, which is critical to this type of animal. This is also a reliable method that is commonly used for measuring presence. Finally, it is a very effective method to finding rare species, as it is very difficult to actually see rare animals in the wild. There are some downsides associated with this technique, and some of the common ones are that the SCAT can be difficult to spot in vegetation, leaves or other debris can cover the SCAT. There is also plenty of room for human error in this method, and it requires extensive field time, considering you have to walk through these tough areas.
The next technique is the use of dogs. Detection dogs are used to go out in the field and locate a certain item or species by using their senses. These dogs get trained extensively for this job, so once you get them familiar with a certain sense of what they should be searching for, they are able to go out in the field and sniff out exactly what they're looking for. So in this case, red pandas. There are many advantages to this technique, some of which are that they allow us to use less manpower and that they are way more efficient than just people. Using dogs to search for red pandas will be a lot less time consuming, as they will be able to sniff them out so we have an idea of where they are. Dogs are going to be much quicker at the task than humans would be, as we would have a much harder time finding the area in which they are located. However, there are some disadvantages to this technique. For example, dogs can cause extra stress on the species. Considering they are an endangered animal, we do not want to add any extra pressure on them. There can also be many outside factors influencing this method of detection, such as weather affecting the dog scenting or the rough terrain being hard to get around. Also, we would be unable to be in the field for an extended period of time, considering dogs can get worn out.
The final technique we are going to discuss today is camera trapping. Camera trapping is a technique where you are able to get images or videos of a species of interest. This is done by placing the cameras in different places in a targeted area. They are triggered by changes in activity, such as animal movement, and takes a picture or a video once this movement takes place. Some positives to this technique is that they are non-invasive, and it does not put any extra stress onto the animals as we are not adding any disturbances. They also allow us to detect multiple animals and get a visualization of the red pandas. Lastly, they require a lot less field time, so we do not have to worry about dealing with the harsh environment these animals live in. Some disadvantages to this technique is that these cameras have batteries, so our data collection is limited to the battery life. There are also chances of these cameras being damaged from things such as harsh weather conditions like a storm. Lastly, camera traps have a limited view. We will not be able to look at a large area with these traps, so we need the red pandas to be in the limited range.
By looking at all of these techniques and discussing positives and negatives of each, we have come to the conclusion that camera trapping would be the best technique for the detection of red pandas. Although we would have to deal with limitations of battery life and chances of damage, we still believe it would be the best method. This is because camera traps are a non-invasive method that works very well with elusive species. It allows us to get visualized data of the red pandas, which would be very hard to do with any other method. It is also a good way to minimize the stress of the red pandas, as we would not have to be in the field frequently or add any extra pressures to their environment. Overall, we believe that the pros of this method outweighs the cons, and that would be best fit for detecting the rare species, the red panda. Here we have all the sources used to get information on each technique of detection. Please feel free to comment on this video if you have any questions. Thank you for watching.